Okay, section 2.3 is on slope. This is kind of a review of what we talked about last time a little bit. All right, slope is the ratio of the change in the y value to the corresponding change in the x values. So remember our slope equation is m equals change in y over change in x. So it's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Number 1 says find the slope of the line that passes through the points 1, 3, and -2, -3. So we're going to go to 1, 3, -2, -3. We're going to graph the line. Now when we first talked about slope, we called it rise over run. So rise was the change in the y value. So rise. And run was the change in the x value. Since this line is going upwards, so when I read it like a book from left to right, it goes up. My slope is going to be positive. My rise goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So rise is 6, run is 3. So it'd be 6 over 3, which is 2. All right, so let's actually use the equation. So m is going to be, so we do x1, y1, x1, y1, x2, y2. I always label my points, and that helps.
Does Mike usually come? Where does he work?
He should be here soon.
Okay, so he'll be here soon.
He drops off his son. All right, so I have, let's see, y2 minus y1, so -3 minus 3 all over -2 minus 1, so it's -6 over -3, and that's why it was positive 2. Okay, different questions that I get all the time is, does it matter which order you do it in? It does, kind of. So who can tell me the answer to that question? What do you think, Allie?
Well, yes, because like the points are different, and like.
But do I always have to do the 2's first, like the x2, y2's first?
Yes.
It's kind of a tricky question. It's you can do either order. So you could say like y1 minus y2, as long as you do x1 minus x2. So as long as you do that. So it doesn't matter which way you write it, with the 2's first or the 1's first, as long as you're going in the same order on the bottom.
But
Does
if
that
you
make sense?
had done 3, never mind.
Yeah. So if you're going to use the right point first on top, use the right point first on bottom. If you're going to use the left point first on top, use the left point first on the bottom. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and do number 2. So graph the line passing through 1, -3 with a slope of -3/4. So 1, -3, let's sketch that out. And my slope is -3/4. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice my slope is negative, so as I read it like a book from left to right, I'm going downwards. You could have also gone up 3 and left 4. Okay, vertical lines. Okay, let's think about it. So a vertical line, let's see, I was going through 3. This point is 3, 0. I have 3, 1. If I wanted 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, -1, all of those points. So all of these points are 3, something. Like you go over 3 and then you go up and down a certain amount. So they're all 3, something. Like this is 3, 1, this is 3, 2, 3, 0. Okay, so 3 is it the x coordinate or the y coordinate? So x coordinate or y coordinate? I'm sorry, I think Allie just had coffee go through her nose. All right, x coordinate or y coordinate? X. So that means that this equation of our line has all x values of 3. So it's the equation x equals 3. So for a vertical line, we say it's the line x equal a, so x equals some a value. It's a vertical line at a. The slope of a vertical line is, we say it's undefined. Okay, a horizontal line. The horizontal line is, well, let's think about it. What do you think? So let's say this was at 2, so a height of 2. All these points are going to be, like, this one's 1, 2, this one's 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2. All of them have a y value of 2. So it's going to be equal to y equals b. It's a horizontal line at b. The slope of a horizontal line is 0. Okay, so I always have stories in Algebra 2. So here's my story. So back when I was in college, obviously I was a math major, so my friends constantly asked me for tutoring help. So I helped all my friends pass all their math classes. And I had this friend named Sarah. And Sarah was a really good skier. And she would go to all these different competitions and do all these ski things. She was crazy. She could do all these flips and things like that. So one weekend, she was trying out for the X Games. And this is a true story. This was when X Games was just starting, because I'm old. And it was like a huge deal. She was very excited about it. So she went and tried out for the X Games. And she came back that next weekend. And I was helping her with math. And I said, hey, how did you do? And she was like, I don't want to talk about it. I was like, no, seriously, how did you do at the tryouts? I know you're really good. Like, what happened? And she said the first 2 jumps, she was in first place. So after the first 2 jumps, she was going in. She's like, I'm going to make it to the X Games. This is awesome. And then the 3rd jump, she said that she stood at the top of the hill, and she looked down, and she was like, Jenny, words cannot describe this hill. It was ridiculous. She was like, I couldn't even, like, it was just straight down. So she gets on her skis, and she's like heads out to do the hill, and she tumbles on the hill and rolls all the way down. Her skis fly off, and at the bottom of the hill she hits her head on a rock. So she tells me that she went to the hospital. She had a concussion. She was okay though. It was just kind of scary. And she said obviously after that jump she didn't make it to X Games. She couldn't even like do another one. You know, they wouldn't let her redo it because she had to go to the hospital. So she was really upset about it and didn't make it. So then she comes to me and we're working on math, and she hates math. And we're talking about slope. Of all things, someone that should, you know, ski should talk about slope. They should talk about how steep something is, how not steep something is. And she, you know, she didn't really understand the vertical line, horizontal line thing. And I said, well, you just told me this story, and you used these exact words. So when she was standing at the top of the hill, so I'll draw my little hill. So here's Sarah with her skis, ready to go down the hill. What did she say? At the top of the hill.
Straight down.
Yeah, she said it goes straight down, and she said, words could not describe this hill. What does it mean if words can't describe something? Undefined. So vertical is undefined. Yeah, then she also said something else. Or I pretend she said something else on this one. But she said, I wish that last hill was flat. So she wishes that it was just flat. So here's Sarah. So she could just ski her way to victory with 0 effort. So 0 effort. All right, so horizontal is slope of 0. Vertical is undefined. So that's the way you can remember it. All right, no more story time. All right, so if the line rises to the right, then the slope is positive. So rises to the right, positive. If the line is horizontal, the slope is, what did I just say? 0. If the line falls to the right, negative. If the line is vertical, undefined. Okay, the reason that would be undefined, if you think of it like if I had 5, 2 and 5, -1, when you do your change in y over change of x, okay, so that's 5, 2 and 5, -1, I would have -1 minus 2 over 5 minus 5. So what happens there? You get -3 divided by 0, right? And when you divide by 0, it's undefined. So that's how you know it's undefined there. So you could use 2 points and it would work out to be undefined. Okay, so number one, determine if each line is vertical or horizontal, then graph. So x equals 5, vertical or horizontal? Vertical. So if I have x equals 5, every point is going to have 5 for the x value. So 5, 0, 5, 1, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, and so on. So it's this line right here, so it's vertical. Y equals -4, horizontal. Looks like that. Wes was just looking for you. Okay. Parallel lines, so we talked a little bit about parallel and perpendicular. Parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So same slope, so one of them would be like 2, the other one would be 2. Opposite reciprocal, if one is 2, the other one is -1/2, because 2 is really 2/1. So when you take the reciprocal, you flip it over, so 1/2, and then you change the sign. So if one's positive, the other one has to be negative. All right, so number one, graph the line y equals -5x + 6 on the coordinate plane below. Graph the line parallel to this through -2, 3 on the same grid. Okay, so if -5x + 6. So if you guys need to do a t-table, we can do a t-table. Plug in different values, so plug in 0, 1, 2, let's do -1. You need at least 2 points for a line, but I usually do 3 just to make sure that it's all working out. All the same line. So I have 0, so I have -5 times 0 plus 6, so I get 6 out. -5 times 1 plus 6, I get 1. -5 times 2 plus 6, I get -4. And -5 times -1 plus 6 is 5 plus 6, so 11. So 0, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 1. 2, -4. And then -1, 11, so that's way up there. This is the line that we have. Okay, I want to graph the line that's parallel to this line through -2, 3. So -2, 3 is 1, 2, 3 down here. If the line's going to be parallel, it's going to go up at the same rate. Oh, yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm going to go up at the same rate. So on this previous line, to go from one point to the other point, I had to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over left 1. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 1. Oops, mine missed the point. Hopefully yours doesn't. Mine doesn't look too parallel. I still didn't draw very well. All right, so you should get that. So we just made sure that we had the same slope, and then it should work out to be parallel. You might want a ruler for your homework, right? Yeah. Okay, number 2, graph the line through 2, 1 that's perpendicular to the line with the equation 2x minus 3y equals 6. All right, so let's do the x-intercept method and the y-intercept method. Do you guys see I have 2x minus 3y equals 6, so it's real easy to do that. Do you remember how we did that? So my x-intercept, you plug in 0 for y. So basically I'm looking at the y and I'm thinking of covering it up. So use your finger and cover up -3y. So I get 2x equals 6. So x equals 3. My y-intercept, you're going to cover up the x part. So I get -3y equals 6. So y equals -2. Okay, these are points. We plugged in 0 for y and got x is 3, so it's 3, 0. Plugged in 0 for x, got -2 for y, so 0, -2. So I have 3, 0, 0, -2. So I have that. Okay, we want to be perpendicular through 2, 1. So graph 2, 1. So it's right there. Notice your slope of the last one, you went up 2/3, so it was 2/3. So my perpendicular slope is the opposite reciprocal. So I'm going to flip it. So instead of 2/3, I'm going to have 3/2. And then make it the opposite sign. So it was positive, so now it's negative. So from my point, I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3/1, 2. And when you do that, it should look perpendicular. Okay. Oops. Okay, number 3, graph the line through 1, -2 that's parallel to the line with the equation x minus y equals -2. So you guys go ahead and try number 3. Let's try number 3. Okay, let's do this one a little bit differently. So instead of finding the x and y intercept, which you can do, so if you guys did that, that's fine. Let's solve this one for y. So I'm going to subtract my x to the other side. So I get -y equals -x minus 2. Divide by -1 everywhere. So you should get y equals +x plus 2. Okay, that's your original line. So I'm going to go up 2. Well, you can do a t-table if you need to. And your slope is 1. We're going to talk about this in the next section. But do you guys remember this from Algebra 1? So it's in the form y equals mx plus b. So my y-intercept is 2. My slope is 1. So I start at 2, and then I'm going to go up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 1. Okay, you could also do a t-table if you weren't sure on that. All right, we want the line that's parallel through 1, -2. So 1, -2 is right here. So I want the same slope. So my slope was 1 before. I want the same slope. So I'm going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. So when you do that, you should get the exact same slope. It should look parallel. All right, number 4, write the equation of the line perpendicular to y equals 6 through the point -5, -3. I always put these questions on the test, and people always mess them up. It's supposed to be easy. I promise I'm not trying to trick you. So y equals 6. So think about what y equals 6 looks like. Every point is going to have a y value of 6. So it's going to be right there. So I'm going to have 0, 6, 1, 6, 2, 6. Then I'm going to go through the point -5, -3. So here's my point. So if I'm going to be perpendicular to that original line, the original line was horizontal. So that means perpendicular is going to be vertical. Vertical lines are always x equals something. So in this case, it's x equals what? -5, right? All of them have an x value of -5. So here's the trick. If you see perpendicular to y equals 6, don't even sketch it out. Just look at, it's going to be x equals. So look at the x value you have. So it's going to be x equals -5. If it said parallel to y equals 6, parallel means it's also going to be a y equals. So look at the y value then. So it'd be y equals -3 would be parallel through that point. Does that make sense? Let's go ahead and start 2.4 so you guys can finish up your homework. Okay, slope-intercept form, we just talked about it. It's an equation written in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, so number 1, we're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form, and then we're going to graph the function. So I'm going to add my 4x over, so I get y equals +4x minus 1. Now it's in that form. M is 4, b is -1. So m is always the number in front of your x value. B is the other number, so with no x. Okay, so whenever you're graphing a line, you always start with the y-intercept first. So in this case, our y-intercept is -1. So I'm going to go down to -1. Okay, then my slope is 4. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Draw your line in. And that's what it is. You can always check with the t-table, make sure you're getting the same points, but you should be able to graph a line from just this slope-intercept form. How many of you guys remember that from Algebra 1? I know that already. How many of you guys are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing? It's okay if you don't know what you're doing. Every year it happens. Every year I put a lot of these on the test and then people have trouble. So you need to let me know if you're having trouble with these. Number 2, write the equation x equals 3/4 y, or x plus 3/4 y equals 6 in slope-intercept form. So we're going to solve for y, and then we're going to graph the function. So subtract the x over. Okay. How do I get rid of my 3/4? Oh. Probably had some, but multiply by what? 4, and then divide by 3. So we're going to do it all in one step. So we're going to multiply by 4/3. So when we do that, the 4's cancel, the 3's cancel, so I just have y on the left side. And then I have -4/3 x. And then off to the side, if you need to do 4/3 times 6 off to the side, think of it like that. 4/3 times 6 over 1. It's 24 over 3, or 8. You could also do the cancel trick. So you could say, okay, 3 and 6 reduced to 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So I have -4/3 x plus 8. Okay, so when I'm graphing this, I'm going to go up to 8. And then my slope is negative, so I should be sloping downwards in the end. So as I read it from left to right, going down. So I'm going to have -4/3, 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. And that's your graph. Number 3, draw the line through the points -4, 0, and 4, 6. Then write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So I have -4, 0, and 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here's our line. But now we need to figure out what it is in slope-intercept form. So I didn't use a ruler, but mine's looking like it's crossing at like 3 or 4, somewhere in between there. I'm guessing it's probably either 3 or 4. So let's see what this is. So if you're trying to find slope-intercept form, a good thing to find first would be the slope. So we're going to use that slope equation. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're going to label x1, y1. I'm writing it, but it's not too high on the screen. Okay, so x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be 6 minus 0 over 4 minus a -4. So I get 6 over 8, which divided by 2 on the top and bottom, you get 3/4. Okay, so my slope's 3/4. So let's see if from my point I can figure out, since I have this graph already. So if I go up 1, 2, 3, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, see how it should cross right through that point there? So right away I can tell that my y-intercept is 3. So B is 3, just from drawing it carefully. Okay, but let's say that you aren't a very careful drawer, or you, Matthew looks, I don't know. All right, so let's say you're not very careful, or you don't have a graph at all, so you just didn't do a graph. Okay, we need to figure out how to find B. So in that case, you can use y equals mx plus b. And you can use any point for your x and your y. We know m is 3/4. And I do know one of the points, I know I have -4, 0. So I'm going to use that for my x value and my y value. So I'm going to use -4 for my x, and y is 0. And then I'm going to find what b is. I did not plug anything in for b because I don't know what that is. B is always the y-intercept, not just any y value. So -3/4 times -4, think of over 1. The 4's would cancel, so you get -3 plus b equals 0. Subtract the b, so I get -b equals -3, so b is 3. Okay, so that's how we found it. So your equation in slope-intercept form is y equals 3/4 x plus 3. Okay, slope formula again. So we said it's x2 minus x1 over y2 minus y1. Oh, I just messed it up, didn't I? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or rise over run. Okay, so find the slope of each line. So number 1, the line through -1, 1, and 2, -5. So go ahead and try number 1, try number 2, and then try number 3. So try each one. Okay, so the first one, so you have m equals -5 minus 1 over 2 minus the -1. So that's just plugging into our formula. So you get -6 over 3. It's okay if you did the other order. Did you guys get -2 out? Yeah, I see a lot of you guys are erasing. So is it just because you did -1 minus, or sorry, 1 minus a -5 over -1 minus 2? Is that what you guys did? So you don't have to erase that if you did that. So you should get -2. All right, now this one, I would make sure that it's always a constant change. So here I'm adding 4, adding 4, adding 4, adding 3, adding 3, adding 3. So that means the change in y over the change in x is 3/4. So you could use any pair of points, really. Like, let's say we use these two. So 5, it would be 5 minus 2 over 8 minus 4. So that's how we got 3/4. Okay, and then 3, what's the slope? Undefined, right? Remember my story? So undefined. All right. This last formula I use all the time. You can always use the y equals mx plus b form and avoid this, but you're going to need to know this formula in pre-calc and calculus. So if you're going on in math classes, I would just know this formula. So it says another formula is very similar to the slope formula. However, it's used when you only have a point in the slope and you don't know another point. So point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Do you guys see how it's really similar to the slope formula? Because if you took this whole chunk here that I'm circling and divided it over, you'd have y1 minus, or sorry, you'd have y minus y1 over x minus x1 equals m. Looks almost like the slope formula, you're just missing those subscripts that you had before. Makes sense? So that's how you can kind of memorize it. It looks like the slope formula. All right, number 1, find the equation of the line through -2, -3, and 2, 5. Write your final answer in slope-intercept form. So m is change in y over change in x. So I have 5 minus a -3 over 2 minus a -2. So I get 8 over 4, which is 2. So now I have the slope and I have a point, so I'm going to use point slope form. You can use either point, it doesn't matter. So how about, let's do Izzy and everybody on the right side of the room, you guys guys use the first point, so use negative 2, 3. Everybody on the left side of the room, so towards the door, you guys use the second point. So we'll do it real fast. Okay, write your final answer in slope-intercept form, so solve for y. Did everybody get y equals 2x plus 1? You should get y equals 2x plus 1. So it doesn't matter what point you use, you should get the same thing in the end.